TDP-BJP இசைக்கு மொழி இல்லை, இனி பறக்க தடையில்லை. மனதோ சிறு பிள்ளை, அதன் குறும்புக்கு இடையில்லை. தமிழ்குஷி.com, 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 தமிழ்குஷி.com.
இன்றைய சமூக அரசியல் நடப்புகளை பற்றி ஒரு சிறப்பு பார்வை. இதோ புதிய பார்வை.
வானம் உனக்கு, பூமியும் உனக்கு, பரப்புகளோடு சண்டைகள் எதற்கு? வானம் உனக்கு, பூமியும் உனக்கு, பரப்புகளோடு சண்டைகள் எதற்கு? வாழச் சொல்வது இயற்கையடா, வாழ்வில் துன்பம் செயற்கையடா.
அரசியல் முக்கிய பிரமுகர்களுடனும் சாதாரண குடிமகளுடனும்
Don't underestimate the power of a common man.
புதிய பார்வை.
ஒரு மாற்றம் மழையும் வெயிலும் கலந்த பின் வானவில்லாய் மாறிடும் உலகமே புதிதாய் தோன்றும். ஒரு மாற்றம்
செவ்வாய்தோறும் 2 மணி முதல் 3 மணி வரை மற்றும் 10 மணி முதல் 11 மணி வரை. கேட்க தவறாதீர்கள். உங்கள் தமிழ்குஷி.com. இது தமிழர்களின் குதூகலத்தின் ஆரம்பம். தமிழ்குஷி.com இது தமிழர்களின் குதூகலத்தின் ஆரம்பம். இன்றைய புதிய பார்வையில் நான் மோகனா உபேஷ். எப்பொழுதும் போல் மாற்றங்கள் ஏமாற்றங்களாக இல்லாமல் ஒரு உற்சாகமான மாற்றங்களாக இருக்க வேண்டும் என்ற நோக்கத்துடன் இதோ இன்றைய புதிய பார்வையில் திரு ஸ்ரீசைல் ரெட்டி காரு அவர்களுடன் ஒரு நேர்காணல். இவர் தெலுங்கு தேச கட்சியின் முக்கிய பிரமுகர். இன்றைய நிகழ்ச்சி ஆங்கில மொழியில் இருக்கும். Tamilkushi.com, a true joy to every listener across the globe. With me, Mohana Opesh, in today's Puthiya Paarvai program, which is a news outlook to socio-political issues, we are going to meet the spokesperson of Telugu Desam Party, Mr.Srisail Reddy Gaaru. Tamilkushi.com, this is a true joy for the world Indians. So, we have a very, very important person in our Puthiya Paarvai, which is a new outlook program to give a different perspective, to give a new perspective to socio-political issues that is there today. I have with me Mr.Srisail Reddy. He is the spokesperson of Telugu Desam Party, and he is also the convener of Vastuna Meekosam. And also he happens to be the vice president of TDP professional cell. And he has a lot of laurels. He is into Telugu literature, and he has got equal education from India and from UK. And at the same time, he is a very down-to-down person. What is the one thing that, when we start off with, usually we ask, is the alliance boon or a bane? What is your take on that?
The alliance with, first of all, good morning to the listeners and viewers. I'm Srisail Reddy. I'm calling from Hyderabad. Well, the alliance of TDP and BJP is a boon not just for the activists of Telugu Desam Party and BJP, but it is going to be a boon for the nation as a whole. Besides Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, the two newly formed states, because the Chandrababu Naidu and Narendra Modi duo will create an impact, and they are going to leave their mark in the progressive and developmental politics. And bear in mind, Telugu Desam Party has played a very vital role as a catalyst in the non-Congress government earlier, and we are in the age of coalition politics. Now, TDP will also ensure the peace and harmony in the country as a key ally of NDA. We will be like a vanguard. We are going to play a crucial role. A for development, B for welfare, and C to upkeep the integrity of the country. And that's my take.
Yeah, that is you put it in a very nice, inviting way of going with an alliance. But there was a lot of rumors just before this alliance happened in terms of how TDP, there is all possibility to get in with Congress because they have promises that has been that's very, very, very important for TDP as such from Congress. So what was the one main factor that TDP as such said no to Congress and went ahead with BJP?
I can say that we, TDP, we never worked with Congress and we are never going to work with Congress. I don't know what impression it gave you. I mean, if I understood the question correctly, you are asking TDP at some point has moved close to Congress and then it has parted. So that's wrong. And Telugu people, I think about 13 crore Telugu people across the world, they know what TDP is, and the basis for the formation of TDP is the anti-Congress politics. And we never ever work with Congress, would like to work with Congress, because we believe Congress is solely responsible for the plight of Indian masses, and the 66 years of independence did not leave much hope for the poor. This is according to the people like Rajiv Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi and even Manmohan Singh. They are saying that they are clueless of the progress of India. I am questioning them. Your party has ruled for over 55 years of independent India, and Congress party is the enemy, the number one enemy for India. And there is a new entry into Oxford Dictionary last year that's called omnishambles. That's absolute and thorough, out and out chaos. And Congress party is the omnishamble of India. We were never with Congress and we will never be with Congress.
So, in case if BJP forms the government, what kind of things that TDP as such would be in a position to support them, and also from a Telangana perspective, what are the important factors that you would be bringing into the nation as such?
As you are aware, any coalition government will have a common minimum program, and the set of common minimum program we envisage and we demand and we work for is the overall development of the nation and integrity of the nation, peace and harmony in the nation. And as much as development is important, welfare is also important. So by saying that, I mean equal opportunities to all, particularly the downtrodden. 85% of Indian population is comprises of weaker sections. That is SCs, STs, minorities, and MBCs, that's most backward caste, and minorities from Christianity and Islam. So this land belongs to all. So we want equal opportunities to all. The social agenda drives us to support NDA, and our social agenda is development, welfare, and equal opportunities. And this is the crux of it. So the common minimum program would have these, and NDA has to adhere to these, and NDA has to satisfy satisfy us. I'm using the word satisfy because that's the key thing that drives us forward, and that's the only thing that would enable the seamless integration of TDP into NDA.
Okay, actually, you put in a very important points. Development is the key thing, and another one keyword that you have used is NDA as such must satisfy TDP to continue with the long-term beneficial government if at all NDA does form in the center.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
See, we have seen in the history, NDA did come earlier and there was some problem. And then, of course, it came back with a little bit bigger majority and they were able to rule for 5 years' time. But there was always a constant pressure. There was a constant, okay, I need to balance, I need to satisfy each and every member of the NDA. And as such, from a country's perspective, from a national citizen's perspective, from satisfying the citizens versus satisfying the individual party needs. So where does TDP and NDA stand? So what would be the most important thing for you guys, for TDP? And how would you balance between the citizens' interests versus TDP's interests?
Now, the tricky thing and interesting thing in coalition politics is the need to satisfy the political parties. Now, there are two types. One, to satisfy the personal agendas and vested interests of the heads of the political parties that are part of the coalition government. We have seen many leaders in NDA, not as much as we have seen such leaders in UPA 1 and UPA 2, particularly. There were coalition governments earlier, but the remarkable thing that we can see is the coalition governments of UPA 1 and UPA 2, where people have, sort of almost came to a conclusion that the coalition politics are not good for the country. Contrary to this belief, we strongly feel the coalition governments have done a lot more to the nation as a whole than, the Congress regime, which enjoyed absolute majority right from Indira Gandhi's time. As a part of coalition government, if a head of a political party demands, for example, projects and grants to their states, there's nothing wrong in it. But if they pressurize the major party, was obviously the party that rules in a coalition government, to satisfy their personal needs, grant them bails, and see that their kith and kin are not put behind bars, and to put signatures on files wherever they want, particularly these scamsters and all. I think that is bad. And TDP was an ally of National Front, United Front, and we were instrumental in forming non-Congress governments at the center. And never in the history TDP had any bad marks. There were no stains TDP had acquired in the past, and the history will repeat in future. So we will be very, very firm and meticulously follow the social agenda, and we will put all sorts of pressures on NDA government to satisfy us, and I'm repeating, to satisfy us. That is, to satisfy Telugu Desam Party is to satisfy the people of Telangana state and the Andhra Pradesh state. So we need a lot of grants and generous support from NDA government, particularly the two newly formed states would need a lot of funds and developmental projects. We definitely plagiarize, and we see that NDA realizes to satisfy Telugu Desam Party means to satisfy the people, the 13 crore Telugu people, and we are firm on that.
Okay, so you brought in both the United Front and as well as the NDA, how you have been part of, TDP has been part of both United Front at some point and as well as NDA at some point, right? So when I take the United Front as such, there were different individual state parties that brought in together to make a government at the center. And there is prominence that was delivered by Mr. Chandrababu Naidu in those days, especially in the United Front, because everybody were individual state parties, and there was no one central or national level party as such to really demand a lot of strength in them. So there was more prominence given for TDP as such, and there is another factor to that is, as such, Mr. Chandrababu Naidu had a very good reputation in terms of the IT, and he had a very good command. He has done a lot. At least there is an impression that has been created, and so for the state itself, for the at that time the Andhra Pradesh state itself, he has done a lot, so it had a lot of prominence. But when you consider NDA, the major party being BJP, and it has a national presence, and as far as the surveys and the reports that are coming in, at this point, BJP has a wave in itself. So how much of this, individual state party United Front, where there was a prominence that TDP had, they enjoyed a kind of a prominence, versus now that they are coaliting with the BJP, which is already a national level party. What do you think in terms of you will get that kind of a prominence? Would you be able to, the term that you use, that satisfying my party is very important, because that is what is the key to satisfying the citizens of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. So do you think that you will get the same prominence as you had it in United Front?
Absolutely, because we are coming with flying colors in these elections, and the numbers do matter, but we will be very key ally of NDA. We will have a good number of MPs, and I would like to draw your attention and the attention of the audience that there has been a lot of reluctance and even resistance among BJP leaders from Andhra Pradesh and certain national leaders when this idea of going with TDP has emerged. So there were many top leaders that opposed this alliance with TDP, but the national leaders, including Narendra Modi and Advani and Rajnath Singh ji, Arun Jaitley, Prakash Javadekar, there are many national leaders, and there are some state leaders who wanted Chandrababu Naidu because they see Mr. Chandrababu Naidu as as someone who can liaise with the coalition partners. He has that character. He has that, he has that leadership qualities where I would like to quote Kishan Reddy, President of Bharatiya Janata Party, Andhra Pradesh, and now he is the President of BJP in Telangana. I would like to quote him. When he came from Delhi, he did say to his colleagues in BJP in Andhra Pradesh that Chandrababu Naidu has mesmerized the national leaders and that they cannot go back on the alliance. So I am reiterating, Mr. Naidu would not only mesmerize the national leaders of BJP, but he deals very well with leaders of several regional political parties across the country. And this mesmerization is not because he is a charismatic leader. His charisma, his character, and his integrity lies behind his hard work and how meticulously he follows the development agenda, and that helped him gain lot of friends across the country. And I am sure whatever the numbers we will have, we will be a key ally of NDA, and there are people. There are reports in the media that Mr. Naidu would as well be a convener of NDA. So definitely we will have, Naidu will have, and TDP will have, and Telugu people will have a lot of importance and recognition in India.
Mr. Srisail Reddy Gaaru, actually you have done a lot of socio-political movements, not only in India but also specifically in UK, and ranging from anti-death sentence campaign to anti-war protests and poverty, making sure that there is a much more important things on liberating poor people. And one important thing that really draws attention is your communal harmony campaign.
Yeah.
In TamilKushi.com, especially in this program, Puthiya Paarvai, which is a new outlook to the entire socio-political scenario, we have got many guests that have come in, and there is a general impression that as such BJP, one of the things that other parties do mention, that they want a really pure, harmonious government to come in the center, and if that is the thing, then BJP shouldn't be there. So that is the exact words that have been used by many other parties who are against BJP. So you who have done such a big campaign in the past, how do you see BJP as a really a communal, who can guarantee a harmonious situation in the center?
Yes. As I'm repeating what you have just said, people that don't like BJP say that BJP cannot achieve harmony. I'm rephrasing what we have said. So basically, communal harmony is very important, and we believe that India belongs to all. And what happened in the past with BJP particularly, and you are referring to Godhra massacre, I believe, we have opposed that. And Chandrababu Naidu Garu has demanded the resignation of Narendra Modi, and he has put a lot of pressure on Vajpayee ji. And bear in mind that we supported NDA from outside. We were not part of NDA. So we put a lot of pressure on Vajpayee ji. But we didn't have much say in that. So we did all we could, because that is outrightly, everyone should condemn what had happened in Godhra. There is no doubt. But when you look at the politics of our age, we are in the age of coalition politics. And Congress party has taken the country 100 years back. Now, as much as terrorism and violence are harmful to the country, corruption is equally harmful, because that is, Congress party, if you look at it, they have done this corruption very, very, very systematically. By saying this, I'm no way justifying the genocide. I'm saying that what has happened in Godhra is a genocide. I know I'm using a very strong word here.
But do you not think the all the courts and important judgment has been passed that BJP, I mean specifically, sorry, I shouldn't be saying BJP, specifically Narendra Modi ji has got a clean sheet from whatever communal violence has so far been reported against Narendra Modi ji itself. So, I'm a little bit confused when you are able to use such a strong words, of course, as a party probably versus right now Modi ji representing the party. So,
What's your question again?
no. So, do you still believe that the Supreme Court has cleared Modi ji is the right thing to do, and it's because Modi ji do represent BJP at this point, and in that way it has been granted as such that BJP is really who can guarantee a communal harmonious party.
If you look at the history, India has enjoyed a harmonious relationship with Pakistan during NDA government, and that kind of relation we will not be able to notice in the past. So BJP, I would rather say, BJP does well when it's in power. And courts giving clean sheet to Narendra Modi ji, technically, BJP can claim that they are not guilty because the courts have given clean sheet and all. But ultimately, we should give confidence to people that we are not what our opponents have been portraying us as. We can easily escape, this part of mudslinging and all that. But I, for one, believe that ultimately we should be responsible. We are accountable to people and to upkeep communal harm. Hello?
Yeah. So what you're saying is, there is a difference between legality and, as such, ethics and
ethics and morality. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in terms,
one takes a moral high ground that they are the saviors of the country. They are the messiah of the country. I think they should practice it. I'm not just pointing my fingers at Narendra Modi ji and at BJP. But by and large, this applies to everyone. Politics is such a pious and noble profession, and we should never try to escape and be shielded under technical reasons such as clean sheets and all. We should be responsible, and we should be more responsible that whatever mistakes we have committed in the past will not be repeated, and this is what exactly I am trying to reiterate, and I try to put across again repeatedly that Telugu Desam Party will play a catalyst role, and this time Touchwood will have a maximum number of MPs and will play a major role in NDA. And not only play a major role, we would drive the social agenda and political agenda of the NDA government, and we will ensure that the people of India will live harmoniously, and that is the role of Telugu Desam Party envisaged in NDA government.
You have brought in, especially given the fact that you are an ally of India, of BJP, this particular point that you have brought, it is important that the popular impression that is going on right now has to be worked on, and as well as on a high moral ground. At any point of time, even though consciously a given party or BJP may not do something against the nation, but it is important that kind of an assurance has to be given to the nation at large, and more importantly, in the international arena, this message has to go. So that's an excellent point that you have made. But also, you did mention that we need to ensure that there is anti-corruption movement that needs to continue as such, because you did. Per your words, Mr. Srisail Reddy Gaaru, you said Congress has a lot of corruptive things that they have done in the past. So then naturally the question is...
A systematic corruption.
Okay, so that's a really strong word, systematic corruption. So that is the whole aim of Aam Aadmi Party, right? So why not join hands with them? I mean, they have that movement, and the party stand itself is on the anti-corruption. So why you didn't join hands with them on that? Would you be seeing in the future, if there is a need arises, would you be in a position as TDP joining hands with Aam Aadmi Party to fight against corruption?
First of all, I welcome the initiative of Aam Aadmi Party. For that matter, any political movement or political force that gives alternative to people should be welcome, because people should have time. I strongly condemn when people say that the US model or the Western model of two-party system is good for the nation. I strongly condemn that. There must be a multi-party system, and people should have options. Having said that, Aam Aadmi Party is an experiment now. Now India is at crossroads that we have remained still a developing country. I've been engaged in debates and propagating about India being going to be superpower, part of BRICS nations and all that. This has been in the news for the last nearly a decade and a half. But still, we have still remained a developing nation, and even in that development, these economists, finance ministers and prime ministers are talking up about 2-digit GDP. But unfortunately, the wealth has been accumulated only with those 8 or 10% of the rich of India. There is lot of effort being put by common men in constructing India, but they are not getting the fruits. Now, we are at a crucial juncture where we should take the masses with us into the development, into the welfare politics. Now, in order to do that, in order to deliver that, we should be able to rule the country. And we have seen that Aam Aadmi Party has miserably failed in Delhi. They had a chance, but then they haven't utilized it. Having said that, I still believe that op should be there in politics. They should provide alternative, and people, the Indian masses, they are bubbling with enthusiasm, and they have lot of they can judge politicians correctly. Never ever, political leaders have failed the masses, but masses have never given a wrong judgment. So, the Aam Aadmi Party or any other political initiative is a welcoming thing, but I think they have failed to prove themselves. Point number 1, and point number 2. We TDP believe, particularly at this juncture where Telangana and Andhra Pradesh have taken a new shape, and also country is at a crossroads. Now, there were enough. I can give you umpteen number of examples where India has hidden its face with shame in international arena. Now, we have to work for India. We have to ensure that India is honored by the neighboring countries and the countries in the West. We should not dance to the tunes of the West, particularly as Manmohan Singh and UPA government has done. We need a stable government. We need able leaders, and we see Narendra Modi ji and Chandrababu Naidu Gaaru as someone who can deliver that. And I think of experiment is a good one, but they will not be able to cater to the needs of India at this.
Okay. One of the things that you did mention in this particular anti-corruption that India as such needs to come in the center, so that there will be a lot of changes that can be brought in. But
Yes.
before some time, you did mention as such that Congress has over the last 60 years they've taken back to 100 years and they have really ruled the country very badly. So you made a very interesting thing that we need to rule the country. So I'm on our page in this new outlook of tamilkushi.com, which is a Puthiya Paarvai program. I expected that you would be serving the country more than ruling the country.
Yeah. Well, to rule a country is not necessarily a bad. The country needs efficient rulers. Ruling is it's basically a responsibility to rule a country, rule a state is basically a responsibility. Serving is the goal, is the central idea of ruling. So I don't separate ruling and serving. They are interlinked and they are rather one and the same, I would say.
Okay, so we will wait for the time and let the citizens of India assess if at all India do form the government. So how many seats do you expect to win in the parliament?
Sorry, how many seats?
Yeah.
Telugu Desam Party.
Yes. Yeah.
We are doing extremely well in both parts of the state. Clearly, Andhra Pradesh has 25 MPs and Telangana has 17. Clearly, we will reach the 20 figure in Andhra Pradesh, and we are certain that we would be getting anywhere between 10 to 12 in Telangana.
Mm-hmm.
That's the BJP and TDP deal.
Okay, really congrats if that does happen. See, one of the main motto of this tamilkushi.com's program, which is Puthiya Paarvai, in other terms, the new outlook, is to changes are inevitable. Let the changes that come in be for the betterment of the entire India versus bringing them down. Okay, so keeping that
in constant, isn't it?
Yes, that's true. So this change, especially that Telangana versus Andhra Pradesh that has happened at this. Telangana and Andhra that has happened. So do you think this change is definitely good, and what kind of short-term and long-term policies that we can expect TDP to hold?
Now, this Telangana movement is a 6-decade-old aspiration of the people. Now, Telugu Desam Party has realized it, has respected the feelings of people, and has given its consent to the Pranab Mukherjee committee back in 2008, and we stood by it. Despite a lot of pressures from Telugu Desam Party Simandra leaders, Mr. Chandrababu Naidu has never taken his word back, and we are committed because Telugu Desam Party is the party that was formed to upkeep the self-respect of Telugu people and to give them self-confidence and to see that Telugu people progress. Keeping that in mind, in Telangana, there is a need that Telugu Desam Party government should come because there's a lot of criticism and there's a lot of disappointment in Telangana people about Telangana Rashtra Samiti, particularly the family of KCR. And there are many, not only Telugu Desam Party, but there are many joint action committees, student JSCs and teacher JSCs, lawyer JSCs and minority JSCs who were used by Telangana Rashtra Samiti and KCR family for their benefits, for their selfish interests. And now that once the state has formed, they have sidetracked all these forces. Not only they have not given tickets to those who fought for the Telangana movement, but they have insulted. KCR has once said they will make a Dalit a chief minister, but now he says that Dalit, there is no capable Dalit in Telangana that can rule the state. This is ridiculous and this is an insult to the Telangana people and particularly weaker sections. And we, as part of Telugu Desam Party, and as I said in the beginning of this interview, I'm a co-convener of Telangana Praja Front. We are networking with all Telangana forces who took active part in Telangana movement. Now is the time that they should get their fair share, and only TDP can enable that. So we are here for development, we are here for equal opportunities, I repeat, and that is the reason we should come to power in Telangana. And in Simandra, that is Andhra Pradesh, a newly formed state, it has to be built from rubbles. So it's not just building capital, it's not just a case of, bricks and mortar. It is to be built with, lot of promises, enthusiasm, and confidence in future for the youth of Andhra Pradesh, for the weaker sections of Andhra Pradesh, for the elderly people of Andhra Pradesh, for the women and Dalits of Andhra Pradesh, and that only Telugu Desam Party under the leadership of Chandrababu Naidu can only bring that, and this is the belief among the people. So, it is a necessity for the people of Telugus to bring the TDP government both in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, and also TDP-led, Mr. Chandrababu Naidu-led NDA government at the center.
Okay, see, years, earlier when the United Front was there to really talk about different, weaker sections in terms of SC, ST and things like that, it did make sense at that time because the world wasn't as much as in the improvised state as it is today. Today, in a globalized world, when everybody works shoulder to shoulder and there is a lot of improvement, not just improvement, there is no difference or there is no weaker section per se from because you categorized it as SEST and really backward classes as such. Since you categorized it, we do not believe as such that there is, everybody are equal, and that is what in today's world, the globalized world, this is what is being proven, that people are, able to flourish from whichever categories they come in. So, is it right, even in today's world, to still use that kind of terms? Don't we not, isn't it time to really bring in a change and really talk about economically weaker section versus the categorized weaker section, which has its own, history attached to it, and unfortunately, even though that history has changed, at least that has been the perception today, that, people are moving forward, and there is a lot of things that is really happening for the entire world population benefit as such, and particularly in India. So isn't it time to really talk about economically weaker section rather than categorized weaker section?
Now, equal opportunities to all is a wishful thinking. Equal opportunities do not exist to all is a reality. Now, equal opportunities to all and a fair share to all those are economically backward is a very democratic demand, and we adhere to that. But we have to bear in mind that India is built on caste system, and there is oppression that still continues. And those that are oppressed need a constitutional safeguard. And if you look at, there is still a difference between SCs and BCs, you know. SCs have some sort of constitutional safeguard in terms of reservations to MLAs and MPs. BCs don't even have that. And Telugu Desam Party has taken a lead, although there aren't any legal obligations. We promised 100 seats to BCs, and we will do it. And we have been demanding rights and privileges to the oppressed sections, not only the caste, but also the gender issue. The women reservation bill has been pending in the parliament for ages, and we are ones that we raised our voice for the women reservation bill. And our founder of Telugu Desam Party, late Sri Nandamuri Taraka Ramarao Garu, for the first time he has introduced the rights for women in their property rights to women. So we believe that oppression does exist. The oppression not only caste, but caste, creed, gender, region, religion. There are people that are oppressed. We should keep our eyes open to the reality. And there are, of course, there is poverty in upper caste. And Telugu Desam Party in its manifesto has clearly promised the equal opportunities to all, including the poor people in upper caste. So to say that India is developing and equal opportunities do exist is only a half truth, and there is still like this India and Bharat. Bharat is backward. India might be progressing, but we want Bharat also to progress as much as India does. So when we say Bharat, it is rural India, and we want rural India, which comprises of over 80% of downtrodden people. We want their development because we are the ones that believe in inclusive development. So we reiterate that equal opportunities should really mean equal opportunities to all.
Okay, so when it comes to equal opportunity, I want to bring in the attention of your neighbor state, Tamil Nadu, right? This is it's not about the real thing that we are talking at this point, but more equal opportunity for the water issue. What's going to happen for the Krishna Water Accord for Tamil Nadu if TDP do win, as you say, and they are able to form a government with NDA as such? So what are the changes that we can see at this, especially the key important equal opportunity for water to serve the Tamil Nadu people?
There is always this, risk or problem between neighboring states. And within our state, people of, Andhra Pradesh also have certain apprehensions that they might have problems with water for irrigation, for example, because the Godavari flows from Maharashtra through Telangana to Andhra Pradesh. So these problems do exist, and we need a serious political leaders that have willpower and commitment for the people, and not a very, short-sighted and narrow-minded leader. I'm not pointing my fingers at any particular leader, but I think, statesmen, if they are allowed to rule or serve the country and the states, I think NDA government at the center and Telugu Desam Party in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, and I think, interestingly, Chandrababu Naidu Garu has she said cordial relationship with both the leaders of DMK and AADMK. And even from NTR's regime, it was NTR who was behind instrumental and who was behind this Telugu Ganga that gave drinking water to Chennai. We always had a very good relationship with the Tamil people, regardless of who is at the helm of the affairs in Tamil Nadu. We always, Tamil Nadu has enjoyed a very good relationship with the government in Andhra Pradesh during Telugu Desam regime, and it is on record. I'm sure there are going to be problems in future, and I'm pretty sure that we will be able to overcome the problem.
Okay, so that is, what you're saying, keeping all the political differences or political agenda aside, you will be in a position, that is TDP will be in a position to continue the friendly hand towards Tamil Nadu people. We look forward to such a happening, especially in the water issue.
No, absolutely, Ms. Mohana. We not only try to upkeep the interests of our neighboring states and friendly relationship with our neighboring states, we will also do the same with Pakistan. We will also do the same with Bangladesh and Nepal and Bhutan, and all the we are the ones that believe this. The planet Earth, Mother Earth belongs to all. Everyone should have equal opportunities, and Tamil Nadu people are no less than Telugu people. So we love them.
Thank you. That's a really very, one of the things that I always say in this Puthiya Paarvai, that is the new outlook towards the current India situation as such, is every party, even though there is such political differences, but there is an inherent goodness, and that's what we want to glorify. To glorify, of course, we need to bring in the different issues as such. And so you're kind of like summarize, yes, all are equal, and we need to work towards the development for the entire nation versus an individual state versus individual party needs. So with that thought, for tamilkushi.com, thank you so much for coming into this program. And is there any final words?
My pleasure.
Thank you. So is there any final words?
My appeal to the audience, love yourself, love your family, and love the neighbors. That's the key to a peaceful life.
Oh, that really summarizes this Puthiya Paarvai, which is the new outlook for socio-political environment in today's Indian scenario, especially in the international arena. So thank you so much once again for coming into tamilkushi.com, and we look forward to great changes in the coming years. So all the best for you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks.
So far we have been listening to Mr.Srisail Reddy Gaaru, the spokesperson from Telugu Desam Party. Now we will ask Ravi a series of questions specifically to find out his socio-political legal expert view on the nation's situation and whether Telugu Desam Party has the might to help not just Telangana and Andhra, but also make any particular changes in the nation.
Good evening, Mona. Listening to Mr. Reddy, he certainly has perceptions. Politically very astute, and he is very clear in the stand of TDP. We cannot deny the fact that Mr. Chandrababu Naidu played a major role in the development of both Hyderabad and Secunderabad as a city. And if my memory serves me right, it was after the visit of Bill Gates at the invitation of the Andhra Pradesh government when he was the chief minister. At that point of time, access to the city from the airport was very, very difficult, and I do not know how far it is true, but Bill Gates smilingly asked him, we need accessibility and this thing, and in a matter of around about 2.5 years, the number of flyovers and bridges and the traffic regulations and ease of traffic movement brought about is a great achievement. Secondly, politically speaking, though I will not say he has the charisma of N.T. Ramarao, he created an issue for himself. But then the situation began to vary from time to time, and he lost out in the middle because certain people deserted him, and he lacked or he lost track of vision, and coming back has been a big event for him. And with the formation of the new state now, the political equilibrium is swinging, because one major swing which Congress had was an actor called Chiranjeevi, who formed his own party and then merged it with the Congress and then became a minister and all that. But surprisingly, his own younger brother went and joined BJP. Not only joined BJP, he is now campaigning for BJP as well. So the bet which the TDP has taken is a very strong bet. There can be no doubt about it. Continuing in the same range, conversion of this strength into votes is a matter of concern.
Ravi, Srisail Reddy Gaaru specifically said that Krishna Godavari water issue specifically for Tamil Nadu is not a big deal, because there is a good growing relationship between Telugu Desam Party with the both DMK party as well as ADMK party's leaders as such. What's your take on this? Do you think this issue will be resolved if at all Telugu Desam do get their majority and they are able to support the centre with BJP? You think this will be resolved?
Though he spoke of various subjects, I will begin with the perceptions where he spoke of state-center relationship, then went on to, the ability to strengthen our relationship with Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal and all that. But he somehow forgot to mention China, who has been a source of taunt to us. And with a policy which we seem to be lacking in strength and in morality towards Sri Lanka, China is consolidating itself in Sri Lanka, if you look at it very realistically. I'm not getting into the issue of Tamilism or anything like that. I'm talking about a foreign relationship of one country to another country, both our neighbors, which per se could be dangerous to us, because then they gain control over Indian Ocean, half of which will be, as per the international law, is owned by us and the rest by Sri Lanka. And if this is started being monitored by China, it could work out in their favor and not in ours, with the existing problems. And he was also very clear in his perceptions of state-center relationship, where he says there should be give and take. Now, it so happens that what is happening is it's a lot of take and no give. If you take the present UPA existence, DMK never gave, it only kept on taking. Now, the previous time when NDA formed the government, as Mr. Reddy said, the common minimum point program worked very well, because once they realized that they are in a position to form a government, Vajpayee, astute politician that he is, called in his partners and took out the most valuable points in each manifesto and formed what is known as a common minimum point program and started working towards it. And it did work well, we cannot deny that. That is one fact which we cannot deny. So there again I concede Mr. Reddy's point. But when he was speaking of Godavari coming in from one state into another state, into a third state, into the fourth state, I do not know how far it's going to be successful, because if you look at it very realistically, today Tamil Nadu is facing a major drought. There is no water. And if Krishna doesn't flow in, it's going to be a massive problem. for the capital of Tamil Nadu, which is Madras by itself. Secondly, he did mention that there is an excellent relationship between Mr. Chandrababu Naidu and Ms. Jayalalitha. But right now, the relationship Ms. Jayalalitha seems to be developing with anybody is one of animosity, especially in the last 2-3 days. She, I think, has taken the wrong route or the wrong line of defense or offense or whatever term which you want to use. So if BJP forms a government, they would not look at her if she doesn't have the strength, and as on date, I don't think she will have that strength.
Srisail Reddy Gaaru has used a very strong word called genocide, referring to the Gujarat atrocities that happened. It's an unfortunate one. But however, if you really take, Modi ji has been cleared by the Supreme Court that he is innocent in this particular case, and there has been lot of good perception in Gujarat as such that he has helped to come out of these atrocities that whatever happened during that period. Do you think this kind of strong word that Srisail Reddy Gaaru has used will tarnish TDP and BJP in the coming post-election period? Or do you think that there has always been a cordial relationship between Chandrababu Naidu and Modi ji which will continue to grow as such?
Further, Mr. Reddy, while speaking of the Godhra incident, he was very, very specific. He used a very strong term called genocide. Now, I think I'll have to agree with him on that particular term, because what actually happened was genocide. But by oversight, he forgot to mention, had it not been for Mr. Modi, it would not have been quelled within 3 days. It could have extended and it could have gone across the state. It could have created a major problem. None of us can forget that. And the other important point which Mr. Reddy, possibly by oversight, forgot to mention was that the equation between Mr. Chandrababu Naidu and Mr. Modi over a period of time has been cordial. But this would be the first time there would be a political alignment between the two of them, which requires a lot of things, because even today, though Telangana has been declared and the president assent and all that, there are a lot of room, like they are still fighting for Hyderabad as a capital, and the present UPA government is saying, now you have it, we will change it later. In between, Seemandra is claiming a separate status. So, per se, post-elections, the BJP-led alliance is going to have a major problem, because they cannot reverse the decision, because if they reverse the decision, that would be their downfall, as well as that of the TDP in Andhra, Telangana, Seemandra.
An interesting and common perception even a decade ago has been anti-Modi ji, and that was mainly because of the lot of fear factor that was involved in it. But if you look at today as well, Ravi, there is still a lot of anti-Modi, but this fear is something different, because it has been observed as such. There is a strong support by our Islamic brothers and sisters who have supported Modi ji in Gujarat and as well as in many other places, because they have been forming a lot of alliances and have been having a lot of good support from them. So, if I were to look at a decade of journey for Modi ji and BJP, I'm just wondering, is this a systematic planning, or this just happened and all of a sudden there is a magic wand that worked out? What is the real take?
Now I will tell you why I am emphatic about this, Mona. Mr. Modi being projected today is not an action of today. It has been well structured, well planned, well orchestrated, well organized, a game plan which started 10 years ago. They were quiet, but they were working behind the scenes. They have done every inch of groundwork, and that groundwork is paying dividends today, creating a storm. Everybody may claim there is no Modi wave. In fact, Mr. Joshi of BJP himself says it's not a Modi wave but a BJP wave. It is both the same. That poor man does not realize that Modi still identifies himself as a BJP man. One factor which nullified all the claims, which Mr. Reddy was very emphatic, which I appreciate him for that, was that there is no animosity between Hindus and Muslims under Modi. Now, having called the Godhra incident as a genocide, for him to use that particular terminology that there is no animosity between Hindus and Muslims relating to Modi clearly indicates that TDP has also done its homework, because their vote bank is also about 11% of Muslim votes. This cannot be denied by Mr. Reddy. I am very clear about it. You can cross-check with him on this, and because I have the statistics in my hand. My only worry is, will Mr. Chandrababu Naidu be able to take control of both Andhra and Telangana? If that does not happen at the state level, then there is going to be a political wrangling between the two states on sharing a lot of issues, which is going to be a headache for the center. And that could, if it happens to be an alliance partner, it could create difference of opinion, which could slowly begin to drift apart, resulting in rift. That causes concern. That is my only concern.
One of the interesting points mentioned by Mr.Srisail Reddy Gaaru is the systematic corruption that has been done by Congress. If it is so, we did ask him, do you think that you would be willing to do an alliance with Aam Aadmi Party, because their whole premises is actually anti-corruption? Why not join hands with them? So he has given certain interesting answers as such, which we did listen. What's your take, Ravi, of the current political situation, not just with AAP, but also overall, with so many parties talking about anti-corruption, but everyone have been having a strong tag in some way or the other? There has been a corrupt government in many places or corrupt parties in many places. But however, as such, AAP as such doesn't have any kind of a tag as on today.
You know, one major question which Mr. Reddy has conveniently left unanswered is, when he spoke of corruption, he did concede that point, which is very, very honest statement. Coming from a politician, I appreciate that statement. And he also said that efforts would be made to curb it as much as possible. But few questions which he has left unanswered is, Supreme Court has taken the present government for not initiating to bring in the black money which is stashed overseas, and supposedly most of this black money is of the corporate houses. Now there is a general apprehension in the minds of the people that either it be BJP or Congress, they are pro corporate houses, which may or may not be true, because they need funding and funding is available only with the corporate houses. And I am also happy that he did concede the point that AAP is not a political party at all. He, instead of saying it was a circus, he said everything else, but I would term them as, a group of clowns. That is immaterial at this stage. Now on the economic front, we are in deep, deep trouble. Mr. Reddy did not emphatically say how NDA is planning to do that. Now looking at the other point, if I look at West Bengal, Mamata Banerjee is losing ground day by day, which means CPM is gaining strength. Now you can be very sure CPM per se will not, I repeat, will not support BJP, and Congress will have no strength to ask for a support from them. And their third front, they don't have a leadership because of what happened in Tamil Nadu again. Their experiences, and the state committee secretary of the CPM today has said that there is no way that we can equate ourselves with the present Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. The surprising statement that has come this evening is from the State President of the CPI, Mr. Pandian, who has openly said vote for anybody but don't vote for 2 leaves. Now that is the kind of political situation in Tamil Nadu. Let us look at other states. The inputs which I have, BJP will ride through Rajasthan, will ride through Haryana and Punjab, and it's a 50-50 in Kashmir. Very surprisingly, they are going to make a sweep in UP. Now, if you look at it, UP is the largest state, and that is something which both Mulayam and Mayawati have been fighting, that UP should be split, because 80 seats in a state gives them the shivers, because that is one huge chunk of number of people to represent the common man. The inputs given by the various TV channels ranges between 54 to 60, but my own information says that 51 seats out of the 80 will go to BJP individually, and they are contesting 54 directly. Now coming back to Andhra, where I was continuing to ask Mr. Reddy the question, when the state elections are held in Telangana, how are they planning to counter YSR factor, who played a Machiavellian role in leading Sonia Gandhi into believing that once Telangana is formed, his party would merge with Congress, and once the bill was passed, he turned back and told her bye-bye, which clearly indicates she is politically naive, or she was too hot-headed to take the advice of other people. Now, realistically speaking, UPA led by Congress, most of the leaders, except possibly people like Digvijay Singh and Mr. Sharad Pawar of the National Congress, they all have a lot of skeletons in their cupboard. So they have to take a stand which is pro-Congress till such day when the election results are formally announced, and the President would have no option but to call Mr. Modi to form the government. Now you may wonder why I am strong. I have told you right from the beginning, I expect and I anticipate BJP to walk through independently, crossing that major figure of 272.
With me, Mohana Ubesh, we have been listening to TamilKuchi.com Puthiya Paarvai program, which is a new outlook to socio-political issues. TamilKuchi.com has always believed that changes has to be for the betterment of humanity at large. Change is inevitable, and this change has to bring in a more positive outlook to the world and to our Indians at large in the global arena. Tamilkushi.com always welcomes your questions and feedbacks. Please do feel free to write to info@tamilkushi.com or go to the feedback link in tamilkushi.com's website, or you can always post your questions or feedback in tamilkushi.com Facebook fan page. Until the next Puthiya Paarvai program, I, Mohana Opir, signing off. Keep listening to tamilkushi.com and spread the true joy to the world. Thank you.